I am calling to order meeting number 1657 on Thursday, October 26, 2023 at 6:08 p.m. First, welcome all. My last of wearing all of my R.S.D wardrobe.
We have more. We'll get you more.
But stronger together. Not everybody here is happy with the outcome, but for those who feel positively about the outcome, I will make my full report later. We are scheduled for our executive session to take place at 7:30, because that's when our attorney will come on. Let's go and first to the minutes. Do I have a motion on the minutes?
So moved.
Okay, so that is Dennis and a second by Jim. All right, and any comments on the minutes?
Beautifully done.
Yeah, they were really well done.
Excellent, good, we like hearing that. All right, with that being said, I'm sorry, let's take a vote, and we'll start down with Jim.
Yes.
Kim.
Yes.
Yes.
Art. Kyle.
Abstain.
David.
Yes.
Eric.
Nancy, yes.
Nancy's over there. Dennis.
Yes. Yes.
And Bonnie, yes. All right. Unanimous.
One abstention.
Oh, duh. I'm sorry. You weren't here. All right. It is 9-4 and one abstention. Receipt of correspondence.
I don't know if you want to make them up afterwards, too.
Yes.
Sorry,
Okay.
I thought about that.
Receipt of correspondence. Do you want to, Beth, I know you received something.
So in the packet is a letter received from the town of Sheffield regarding our proposal for funding, for ARPA funding, which we submitted an application, a grant application that I believe was due September 1st. So I think that's all I'm supposed to say, because the correspondence is in here, and then you can decide whether or not you want to talk about it further or put it on an agenda at a later date.
Okay, all right, thank you very much. Do we have a student representative report?
Yes, we have a report that was filed on video, so I can share this to
I'm Emma Wilson, and I am the class representative for I'm Emma Wilson, and I am the class representative for the 12th grade class. So basically, we haven't had a meeting since the last school board meeting, the student council meeting. But everything that's been going on is the school board meeting took votes on the merger for Monument in Mount Everett, and some of the students showed their support by making signs and not really protesting, but kind of showing their support towards wanting to keep our school like better off, or like in their opinions better off. The elementary just did the Willy Wonka play. I personally did not go, but I heard it was very, very good. Shakespeare is coming up for the high school and some middle school as well. So they're very excited to do that. And a lot of the fall sports have been moving on into the tournament season. I know the girls soccer team just won yesterday, and so did the boys, so they're advancing into Western Mass. and volleyball is in the losers bracket right now, and they have a chance to play in states. So.
They weren't sure about the timing, so they videoed them.
Okay. Well, so we do have teams that are competing in postseason?
We do.
So right now we're in the regular season, so the way they do Western Mass now is it's a regular season tournament. So we had our both volleyball and girls soccer were 6 seeds. The girls went on the road yesterday and got into a penalty kick shootout in advance. So they go to the semifinals at Granby on Saturday. I think it's 11 o'clock in the morning. Volleyball was a 6 seed, played in Mohawk Trail, and they lost, so they're getting their second game. And then the final rankings in the state come out early next week. Right now, it looks like girls soccer and volleyball have a chance to qualify. Girls soccer is going to make it anyway because they have a record above 500. Volleyball does not, but right now they're like 30th, so they have a chance to qualify because the top 32 teams get in. Cross country Saturday goes to Stanley Park for I think 10 o'clock in the morning for the Western Mass Championships.
Oh, wow.
Last week they did the middle school meet, and our boys finished I think 6th overall. And 7th grader Nico Bruno, I think, finished 7th out of 137 kids.
Yeah.
So, you know, as we're wrapping up here, you know, boys soccer finished today with a tie. Golf had wrapped up about a week and a half ago. So we're coming down to the end of the fall and getting ready for the start of the winter. So it's great.
Thank you, that's great to hear.
And wasn't that our goalie from yesterday?
That was
So that was the one who they won on the penalty kicks against her.
And the goal.
She saved 3. That was our goal.
Emma,
Yep.
really?
Yep.
There's also, if I can find it and get it, Ben Vella was nominated unanimously by all the cross-country coaches, I believe, in Western Mass as like, I gotta see how it was worded, but basically the most, productive, the most, greatest runner. I don't know what you're I'm looking for the email
All
right
right,
now.
so if you just raise your hand when you get it, I will call
I'm
on you.
looking for it.
Okay, that's great to hear, and I have to add one thing. Our cross-country coach is totally and completely in love with this school and the runners. He is originally from Egremont as a kid, and he lived in a number of different places. He's an all-American runner, has won an incredible number of awards, and I mean, I don't know how many of you might have runners in your family. Carl Titchener. And he has a whole packet that he gives to every parent, so the parent is aware of everything related to what he's trying to do, and he really feels that our district is so in keeping with his philosophy of running. And he goes to every sport. I mean, it's really been quite incredible. Do we have a student spotlight?
Student spotlight is also by video tonight. Mr. Carpenter brought the kids in to interview about their 7th grade ballooning project.
Ah.
Oh, cool.
Be a good one to share with you as well.
So what the balloon material was made out of is tissue paper, and then we take rubber cement glue and we put it along the sides and we glue them together. And then the throat was made out of like hard cardstock paper that we drew on.
My favorite part was probably the throat, because me and Silas had a lot of fun with that because we were able to make a pumpkin and actually make it look like it glowed.
So you have to kind of like cut out the pieces in different spots. It's harder to do that than just like getting a rectangle and gluing them together and putting them on the thing. So it's kind of, you have to be pretty precise with that.
together in our group and we kind of talked it out so that we were able to overcome that frustration and we were able to work with it.
Some people in our group didn't quite get along, so that was a little challenging.
What was challenging about it?
My partners didn't do that much work.
Okay.
There was just a little back and forth disagreeing about if we should flip it or if we should redo the scene because we inverted one of them by accident.
Well, we took turns like cutting into the paper, took turns gluing it, and then we took turns putting it up in the air.
It's better to come down to a compromise instead of like just yell at people because I found that difficult to listen to. Also, I kind of wish we got to bigger groups. That would have been nice.
Oh, God, I'm gonna cry.
So we planned out a color, but then we didn't have it, so we kind of improvised and used the color that we didn't have. So it kind of just looked like a mix of colors, but it was fun to pick out those colors.
We like took a vote and whatever one had the most won. And if there weren't enough colors, we would just pick up random ones and add on to it.
We were theming it on breast cancer awareness, but we didn't have any white, so we used blue instead.
And lastly, what was it like seeing your balloon go up in the
It
air?
was amazing. It was really fun.
And how many times did your group get to send it off?
We did it like 5 or 6 times.
Oh, wow.
I was really excited. I was super happy. I felt like the first run definitely went the highest, and the second run definitely went the farthest with a good tree. We didn't go using gum to actually seal the hole.
That's great. That's great.
It was kind of fun. Just catching it was kind of hard because we didn't like exactly know where it was going. But I liked putting up in there.
And how many times did your group get to fly your balloon?
I think it was like 5 or 6 times.
That's great.
I like the blue and gold.
There you go.
Wow. Anyone have any questions? Kim?
Charles.
Charles.
first, and then I'll go.
Thank you. Is that all right? Can I add?
Of course.
So this is a perfect example that illustrates how community building it is to have so many different ages on one campus, because each year Jesse gives me the date ahead of time, and then we invite daycare, so I'm talking babies all the way up to 12th grade, obviously, but all the elementary kids who are out there that morning, they look forward to this, and they're cheering as the balloons are going up.
Yeah.
So, just
I
wanted
love
to
it.
share.
Yes. Okay, Kim.
I was just letting you know that I did find it, and it said Ben Bello was selected for the honor of all Berkshire by virtue of his performance in the 6 league meets this season. His selection was unanimous by the league coaches, which means everybody in the Berkshires. So
And where was that?
that's.
Where was that
It was
printed?
sent out by Carl. It hasn't
Oh,
been
okay,
printed yet. It should
okay.
be acknowledged, I'm sure.
That's
It will.
one of the few sports we still have that runs as Berkshire County, because the Berkshire County League doesn't exist anymore. Cross country still runs as Berkshire County. They elect their all Berkshire team. So you don't see that in the other sports now.
Okay.
Because we're part of the Pioneer Valley, and so it becomes all Western Mass.
Oh.
You see that published later on, but cross country still runs as a Berkshire County League.
I'm so glad. I have another question for you. Can you explain the science concepts that are involved in the hot air balloon project?
And while you're at it, how you get them up off the ground?
Sure. So the balloon project, I've been here 25 years. We've done it every year that I've been here. I believe, and don't quote me on this, it started about 10 or 11 years prior as a sort of combination math and science project. The math, obviously, is the kids are using tissue paper, basically, and the math is measuring out, the size and then cutting it. And what they look like is they end up having these things that are almost like in a shape sort of like hourglass, not really.
Elliptical.
But then they put them together and it ends up what we used to call making like a taco, because you have two sides on it, and then you put the tacos together as you go around. And they have to either figure out to do it inside out and then pull it through, or some groups try to do it the right side, and then sometimes you get situations where they have to re-glue as they pull through and whatnot. So we kind of leave it up to the kids to do it a little bit. But sort of the measurements are really important. The measurements of the throat. If you get too much of the paper on the throat, it's not going to fly as high as it would. And then obviously some of the science concepts that we talk to the kids in science class, just about the idea of what makes a hot air balloon end up in the air, what are the temperatures outside that will make it so that it will, fly the furthest, fly the highest, and that's part of like trying to pick the right time to do it. We got beautiful weather in the sense of no wind, and so the temperatures, if the temperatures were a little cooler, then we would have gotten more height. The beautiful thing about this, and this is one of the few times in the 25 years I've been a part of it, is that each group got to fly theirs off. Chris and I were going crazy because talking to the kids, every one of them said 5 or 6 times.
Yeah.
Like usually you get 1 or 2 groups that get the thing off the air 5 times because they end up in the trees, they end up in the roof, they end up on Salisbury Road, they end up on Berkshire Road. But because there was no wind, basically they went up and came down. So the groups, and you could see towards the last one, it stops looking almost like a hot air balloon and it's like bent sideways. The more it goes up, the glue, because what we're using to set them off is a salamander, which is pushing hot air up to get them off the ground. The glue starts to wear off. And that one group that said they use gum, I mean, we've had some crazy stuff over the years where kids are using like, hairpins, paper clips they have in their pocket to try to get the thing back together to fly it multiple times. I think one of the other things that we try to talk to the kids about in the science aspect of it is just like those ideas of like what the wind does and what's the difference in the miles per hour of the wind and how far it'll push it. And no matter how many times we tell the kids, hey, when it flies over the trees, you don't need to go get it. In other years, we have kids flying through the woods trying to catch the thing before it hits a tree and breaks. But it was really nice this year because, again, multiple times for every group to send theirs off.
Which is every time I've gone, I've never seen more than maybe 1 balloon, maybe 2, that get to do more than 4. I mean, that's really something.
Yeah, and again, the other reason we do this is just the team building. We do it early on in 7th grade. It was always a 7th grade project because traditionally, right, we were middle school, 7th and 8th grade, so it was kind of a, introductory project. And we thought, like, when we, in 6th grade came over to middle school, that it still made sense to keep it as a 7th grade project. But just watching the team building, and, Chris and I got a kick out of the kids answering truthfully, like, oh, it's hard to work with my group. Because they do, it's funny watching them get frustrated. And I happened to be upstairs with the one group, we mentioned yelling at each other. And it was funny because they started barking at each other, and then somebody was like, wait, you shouldn't be yelling at each other. And then they started talking through the process of, and the argument was over what the color scheme was going to be. And like 2 kids wanted one thing, 1 kid wanted another, and they kind of came together. And in the end, I think they all realized, if we work together, right, we're going to get this accomplished.
And once again, it fits into your 7th grade theme of Know Your School.
Yeah.
So,
They had a great time.
Nancy.
And I was going to say, so now somebody needs to do research to find out if they've changed the quality of the glue.
Well,
That's 8th grade.
Congratulations for keeping a great tradition going. Sorry I missed it this year, but it's always wonderful.
Kids have a good time with it.
Good. Okay.
I had a question.
Yes, David, question?
How is this graded?
This is not really graded in the sense of like graded as an individual grade. We basically use it as a team building exercise. And so it kind of falls into, for teachers, like participation grade. It's really all we're really looking at. And so we don't grade the balloons, we don't grade their outcome on this project, as opposed to some of the other interdisciplinary projects that we do.
Okay, thank you. With that, I'll move to public comment. Renee Wood.
Good evening, Renee Wood from Sheffield. I was going to make this comment at your last meeting, but your executive session was so long, I was This comment would have been made before the votes were taken. What I wanted to do was to thank, first of all, the outreach subcommittee, and then the entire school committee, and Superintendent Beth for taking leadership and holding the superintendent's conversation about the 8-town regional agreement. Now, that's all past and behind us, but tonight I wanted to add on that I do think there is a fair amount of focus on opportunities. I know there's some negative comments, but I'm looking past those, and I'm looking at the opportunities that lie ahead before the 2 school districts for what I'm just going to call the very broad category of collaboration. And I really hope that what will come out of here and this situation that we've gone through for 3.5 years is that there will be something, in fact, many things that with the leadership again of this school committee will be developed and offered in tandem with consultations with the Berkshire Hills School District Committee, and come up with some ways to, short of a merger, do some collaboration, because there's a lot of good stuff on both sides, and it would just be a real shame to walk away from this without something really positive. So thank you for all your work. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your work. And I think we may, a little bit later, address some of what you wrote. Okay. But you can go, you can find out at another time. Right. Exactly. All right. Any other public comment? Do we have anybody off in Zoom land? Chris, is there anyone? No? Okay. I am going to ask your indulgence and an approval to move Pierre's request for a trip up to next, if I could get a motion for that.
I make a motion to let Mr. Leger, I never say it correctly, and I have
Okay.
2 kids in his class, move up on our schedule.
Second.
Okay, we have a second there. I assume no discussion, vote?
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes. Okay, with that, Monsieur Leger. Can we just check one? Is he being heard in Zoom land?
Speak up a little bit. Just
Teacher 7 through 12, and then we are trying to request permission to get the students to Quebec in March of 2024. This trip has been done in the past, before COVID a couple times, and now we want to bring this trip back to the district, and it's important for our students to experience Canada, and this will thank you across the board. This trip will be March 7 through 9. And again, there will include students from French 2, so 9th graders all the way to 12th graders.
Okay.
Move to authorize the trip.
I second.
All right, so that's a motion by Carl with a second by Kim. Discussion. Yes, David.
The proposal lists cost as to be determined. There's also a lot of information there about insurance. Is the school going to pay the insurance, or what are the actual costs?
So the actual cost, so the reason why you have to determine is because it's dependent on the student. Every time we add a student or we drop a student, the cost varies, And the cost that I'm going to be paying is the cost for what I have currently. But should we have more students or less students, this cost will vary accordingly. So as of today, we have, so I'm going to move back a little bit. As of today, we have 18 students participating in the trip. We have one adult participating in the trip but paying his share. And we have 3 chaperones, including this trip, for a total of 1,305 students participating. And that is the cost of the trip. As for the insurance, each participant is responsible for the insurance, and that is part of that cost.
Okay, other questions? Carl?
Yeah. So taking insurance for the student is mandatory. They can't go on the trip unless they.
There are 2 types of insurance. There's a private insurance that's already included in the trip, and then there's another insurance that's called cancel for any reason that is supplemental, but then they have included in the trip. The reason is the last time we went this trip, we had to stop on the way because of severe weather or ice storm. Should this happen earlier, I'm assuming the school committee is going to cancel the trip or they're going to tell us not to go. So I feel like at this time of the year, it's a good thing to have the insurance if we had to cancel the trip. In which case, participant would be reimbursed 75% of the cost of the.
Yeah, I'm not sure that I heard you. Can I ask a follow-up question?
Sure.
Thank you. I'm not sure that I heard you respond to my question, and that is, will a student be allowed to go on the trip if that student opts not to obtain insurance?
So the student could opt out of the insurance, cancel for any reason. I believe there would be a reduction of $40 or so dollars, with the understanding that if that student cancels the trip or decide not to participate, or if we have to cancel the trip, then we will be responsible for the loss of the money.
Right, okay, thank you.
So having said that, insurance is insurance. If you don't need it, then you kind of feel that you waste your money. But if you do need it, that's something you're happy to have. So, normally we run the trip in January, and we all know in January what the weather can be like. This time they pushed it to March to be more on the safe side. I would feel better if all the participants would have this insurance.
All right, I have a couple of questions. One, is there still time for additional students to sign on?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. When you say believe, aren't you the one who?
No, absolutely, but what kind of student are you talking about?
What kind of student? One of our students who.
The trip is organized for the French student.
Right.
So I offered the trip to all the students. As of now, 18 students have decided to participate. Let's say if we had another one in January that would like to jump in, yes, we can. But we would reserve the trip for the French students.
Right, so I'm just, in other words, if you have certain students in the French program who, as of today, have not opted in, do they still have the opportunity to opt in?
I believe so, yes.
Okay.
I think the tour, unless we have, for some reason, the tour telling us that there's no more room, we can do that, but I don't anticipate that.
Okay, and then my next question is the one I always ask. Are financial restraints in families being addressed so that the maximum, number of students, if there's an issue of funding, how are you handling that?
So I'm handling that in organizing some fundraiser, knowing that $1,300 is quite a bit of money, and we can only do so much with fundraising. So I am organizing fundraiser that will cover part of the trip.
Right.
But there is so much we can do with fundraising.
Okay. And the third question is, it seemed, am I wrong? Are you using different companies than you did previously?
That's correct.
And the reason?
So I believe Immersion Tool is the last company that we used a couple times. Goes closed its door during COVID and never reopened. This company is a new company for us. However, my son went to Quebec last year with Linux and had a great experience. And I decided to switch.
Great, because I know how much our students absolutely love this trip, and it looks like quite comprehensive what this company's doing.
As of the activities, many of the activities are going to be pretty similar. Regardless of the tour provider, the highlights usually is the oxalate, that's part of that. And we have a dinner and sure chef, and that's going to be still be there.
Great, great. Kim?
This is more of a comment than a question. I just want to say he's been more than accommodating with me about adding my students at the last minute because I forget about reading those emails. And so my girls were added after the cutoff date, so I think they were added.
They're on the list.
Did I respond?
Okay, did I respond? Am I there?
Yeah.
Okay, yes. Go ahead, Dennis.
Yes, a question that I have is, have we ever considered in this trip and/or others, now that we're over the quote merger bump, if you will, of asking if other students who would have to pay the same amount of dollars, their parents and whatever else, if the financial system was the same, of inviting some of them to come along with us?
So when you said that, are you talking about the district or outside the district?
Well, I was thinking of like our friends at Berkshire Hills.
So that's, now that for me to answer, maybe Mr. Carpenter or Frank Denman can.
I'll answer that.
I just wonder if we've ever even considered it.
Yes.
We did.
Yeah, and we're talking about possibly the next, international travel we do, in terms of like, the Italy trip. We've explored the options of including other schools. I think part of the thing that we're hesitant about a little bit is like some of these trips that we've taken out internationally kind of fall under the umbrella of the school district. And so adding kids from other school districts, what does that look like? We've tried the partnering up with, we sent the trip out to the Galapagos Islands. We had students and staff members from Housatonic Valley in Connecticut. And we were sort of on different field trips, but together. And so we've tried that model a little bit. So we're always exploring those ideas if it can help bring down the cost of the trip and things like that.
Yeah, really, please. Okay. Do we have any other comments? In that case, I will take a vote.
Yes.
Yes.
Nancy?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
And yes, you have a unanimous approval. We love it. Thank you for doing it. It's not easy, I know. You're welcome. Okay. All right, we will now go back to the business manager's report.
So they actually did not have a report tonight. The report that I will give, though, is that we are having a change in our business office structure. We will still be working with the same company, but one of my wonderful friends, colleagues, and mentors has snatched up Mr. Chris, as we like to call him, and he has taken a full-time job with one of the other districts. So we have new team members from TMS who will be joining us at our next meeting, but there was nothing to report. They did a pretty comprehensive one last meeting.
Okay, thank you very much. All right. Business with district member towns, update on regional school district planning board. Do you want me, you want to start, whatever?
Oh,
Okay, I will.
Sure.
I will, yes, you want?
No, I said go ahead.
Okay. So as all of you know, the votes that took place on the 21st and 23rd of this month had 4 towns voting for the merger and 4 towns voting against the merger. I attended both my own town, Sheffield, as well as Egremont. This is editorializing. if you wanted to have a feel-good experience, Kim, you were there, Beth was there, everything that they talk about, or what town meetings are supposed to be, took place in Egremont.
True for New Marlboro too.
Yeah, and, oh, Jim, of course you were there. And it just was so many people who are now, in their 30s and 40s and 50s, who went to this district, who moved here, came back to the district, were talking about the unique nature of this district. Kyle, you were there also. And
The Egremont people are really quiet on this board.
yes. And it was so wonderful to see all the number of people who showed up and what was said. And I think probably one of the highlights was Nathan Tenbrook, who is a senior and member of the senior class. His very first vote, eligible as an 18-year-old, was to vote against the merger. And he spoke beautifully and also gave me permission to have his words shared with others. In the towns, each of the towns that I'm aware of, I know it was true in Sheffield, Egremont, Monterey, and New Marlboro, we had students who totally organized on their own, and had, they had a sign-making evening, and they were there to say, vote no. And some were young, some were the rest. Did you have any students in Alford? No? And
Monterey did.
yeah, I know the other folks.
Did we have any present at the meeting? Yes. Did we have any who spoke? No.
But did you have any, with signs outside?
No.
No, but you had some students who were present.
Yes.
I just thought if we ever wanted to see democracy in action, and when I went to Egremont, I just wanted to make sure that the kids were okay, plus I was curious, to be honest. And I said, you know what the rules are? They said, Ms. Silvers, we have to keep 150 feet away from the voting area. They're allowing us to come into the meeting, but we cannot have our signs. And they were just so on top of it. In Sheffield, those of you who came by here, they opened the doors for everyone. And I haven't been able to get I think these were all given out. They put together a brochure.
Oh, nice.
Were they distributed? So students' voices do matter. And I am actually, for my article, using, on the merger. So it was completely, whatever happens, a case of student involvement in terms of democracy and what they said. Nancy?
I'd like to speak to, because Bonnie wasn't able to make it to New Marlboro, because our Sheffield and New Marlboro were at the same time. But I want to say that New Marlboro was the same thing, that the civility, the care, the conversations, on the whole, there were some moments of rancor, but on the whole, it felt like everybody wanted to get along. And also it was interesting too, because some of the conversations about, why did you make the choices that you did? Those conversations had started before, before the actual vote happened. And yeah, it was great. I was really proud. I'm really glad that it fell in our favor. But even if it hadn't, I was really proud of how New Marlboro handled themselves, except for Sarah could only talk for 2 minutes, and she's...
Monterey was very civil. We only had one speaker that was a little aggressive, I would say. But other than that, very civil, a lot of young families, a lot of people who came back, and a lot of people who were multi-generational families that had been to Mount Everett. It was a broad spectrum of people. Charles wants to say something, because I think I'm the only person who can see him back there.
Charles, please.
Okay. It's worth mentioning in New Marlboro too, Jane Burke, former school committee
Chair, and Beth Dean, current parent, 3 kids in the district, spoke really eloquently at the meeting. You know, they were the assigned speakers.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joe.
What was very interesting, oh, you first, Dennis.
Well, just to make a comment, you know, it's my understanding, and Renee would back this if she were still here, that it was one of the largest town meetings.
Oh, God, yes.
Oh, yeah.
That was amazing. How did we get that for, we could get it for
And they just kept-
hours?
I'd never seen so many people in Monterey either.
And they just kept coming in.
All right, let's not do. Those of you, I mean, everyone, there were 503 no votes in Sheffield and 99 yes. And what was beautiful, everybody who keeps on talking about our population statistics, the child care room, I was told, had something like 35 kids in it. 50 kids?
Over 50.
Over 50. And in the TAC pack, there were babies and toddlers all over the place. So if you want to see our future, we saw it. And these families, same thing, families who have come back and moved into the area, and people who spoke, someone who said, I came here, I did all my research, I have 5 children between, I don't know who he is, I want to find, if we can find out. I have 5 children in the district, I did my research, I picked out this district. And most of you know Paul O'Brien. He said he saw so many of his former students from when he taught here who came and had come back into our district. So I think it was overwhelming. I mean, as everyone here has commented, it was interesting, very low turnout in the 3 Berkshire Hills districts from what they had expected. So I think the biggest challenge is we are going to be working, and thank God for the Transcend grant, on the things that we do next. We can't let down the communities that supported us here, and that's going to be critical. We'll be entering our favorite seasons of the year, known as budget season.
It's one of my favorites, actually.
Yes,
Yeah.
and we'll have a lot to do. And I had asked our principal, you know, did he get any of these? I'd love it if, I'm going to see if maybe with screenshots I could share it with you. And we have a couple of students hunting, because I marked this up, to see if they could, you know, I could borrow one so I could do it. You do? Okay. So I could, yes.
Could I just make a quick comment?
Yes.
I just want to tell you all that, and really commend our students who are here. We had a bunch of kids show up, you know, to hold up signs and things like that in support of the district. But when it became clear that we were overwhelmed with the childcare needs, we started with 3 students who were going to watch the kids, and we just continually kept pulling kids off the line brigade to jump in with the younger kids. And then once the meeting started, all of those kids who had other plans ditched their plans and came inside.
Wow.
And so we ended up with kids in like 3 different areas: the gym, the cafeteria, our Eagles Loft, and all those kids pitched in. And again, you know, they're high school kids, they have a lot of stuff going on, but when they saw our need and the amount of kids, it says a lot about the kids we have here at this school.
And and so does this. I mean, you will be so impressed. And I have Nathan's extended report. It was democracy in action. You know, there are downsides to it, but whatever. I'm not going to go through that. What I am going to say is the next thing that will happen is there will be a meeting of the regional planning board. We're waiting, Lucy said she will be scheduling that, and that will be to dissolve the regional planning board. The second is that the towns are looking into, if there isn't action, the select boards are looking into the resolution that they passed back in 2019 to now reverse it, because the initial action took place through the towns to establish this committee. But I think Lucy will be able to take care of that, faster by her note, which said there will be a meeting which will dissolve this. And it's definitely going to be on all of us in terms of looking at what are we able to do, where we can go from there. Anyone else on the planning board want to comment? Want to comment?
No.
No. Okay, and I don't think any of us are going to miss these meetings.
I think that's across all boards, Bonnie,
Okay.
everybody.
All right, moving on, chairman's report. I have to tell you about something, and I was very clear to indicate when this happened that I was just there as Bonnie Silvers, who's on the school committee. We were turned down for our request for ARPA funds. $25,000, plus the exciting thing was, Jim had spoken to me, I think Sarah, not only would that 25,000, if we had gotten a good part of it, been welcome to start this program, other towns, the school committee had approached other towns, our representatives, to see if they would submit as well. And this program that Beth submitted, if anything defines what ARPA is supposed to be, it was a program, it is a program for 3rd through 12th graders that would be after school for both social emotional support, and Sandy was deeply involved in that part, as well as academic support. So this is not the homework center. This is building on, what might have been lost in terms of knowledge. So this would take place either 3 or 4 days a week. And Beth did an extensive job on that. Do you want to speak to the proposal at all?
Well, I think what the key thing is that we, being really focused on getting student and community voice, we went and developed a survey, and we had 228 responses, and those responses are what helped us develop this proposal. And the number 1 and 2, I think I presented this to the committee anyway, were around mental health, social emotional supports, and or academic recovery help. So we wanted to do it on a deeper level, and I think it did tie exactly to what the grant was open to covering.
So what happened, I was there at the select board meeting this past week, really to encourage in public speak that people go and vote. What happened was, earlier in the day, I'm on the Cultural Council for Sheffield, and they announced the money that we were getting for the Cultural Council from the ARPA funds. And then I was given this document, which basically lists every award that was made. And it would be things like 5,000 Christ Trinity Church, 5,000 for First Congregational Church of Sheffield, 4,000 Dewey Hall. I don't have to go through them all, but after 11 of them, it said, Selectman Hoffer moved to not support the application from Southern Berkshire Regional School District, seconded by Chairman Kilmer. The motion carried unanimously. Renee Wood is the 3rd member of our select board, but she had recused herself from these votes. So this is the only one that is written, and then it goes on from there, 5,000, 4,000, to all these other organizations. So they didn't, know that I was given this, obviously, and I said, can you please explain to me why this action was taken? And I was given the answer that we should be taking this out of our regular budget. No, that's not, what our money is not for. This is an extra program. Two, that why, what about the other towns? Well, you never asked us about the other towns, but I could tell you Egremont, New Marlborough, and I think Monterey have all said they'd be willing, but you never engaged us in this at all. With that, Bob Kilmer, who was the chair, said, I'm willing to reopen the issue right now that you've given us all of the, I gave a lot, and he said, I'd like to reopen it. And Nadine, he made a motion to reopen it, and Nadine Hover refused. So I said, basically, I am disappointed. This is exactly what the ARPA definition is, but it appears to me you've just singled out the school district. And since that time, Nadine has written to me. I'm not going to go through all that, but I just wanted you to know that that's what I did. And I was very clear, this was not for the whole school committee. This was me who just was presented this. And that's where it was left. Renee Wood believes that there may be other, she loves the program that Beth has put together, and she said there may be other ways to get the funds. But to me, this was so clearly the definition of what you should be doing with ARPA funds that I'm really disappointed in my town. So that's my chairman's report. Anybody have any questions? Okay.
Do you want to end with a little pick-me-up?
Yeah, little pick-me-up.
Just using it.
Oh, the pick-me-up is all Beth's good news.
Oh, because they're good. Okay. So you ready? I'm
Yes,
going
I'm ready
to
for
keep
you.
this very short because time frame wise, we have a report and a lot of people here who are going to be participating in that. I just want to say that the Transcend Design Committee is going to be meeting on November 6th. Our coach has offered to fly up and work with those on the design team to start to solidify what our pilot projects are going to be before the core team heads off to the convention. So we'll be working through that. Also, I received a note from the Mars Board and Julie Kelly, who does a lot of the advocacy, and they are open to accepting testimony, in 3 days, by October 30th, I believe it has to be, and you can submit written testimony. You can go to the State House.
This is for rural aid?
It is. And you can, but you'll only have 2 minutes to speak after you go drive there, park, and, get in there. So I'm going to do my best to submit a written testimony within the next 48 hours. But I encourage you to look and see if you are interested in doing that to support the rural aid bill. That is an option for you. I believe it is by October 30th.
Can you send us a quick link to, in case anyone wants?
Yeah, I can send you the link to what Julie Kelly sent
Okay,
out.
great.
And,
Thank you.
but it's not one of these, you have to write your own.
No.
Yeah, I mean, it's
but-
not one of the canned.
Right. No,
So-
but it gives us.
No, a baseline and where to send it and
Exactly.
who and all
Right.
that.
Thank you.
It doesn't have to be, in my experience, it doesn't have to be many words.
Okay.
It just has.
So, is that's the
That's it for
conclusion
tonight,
right
yes.
now?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have anything from Julie?
Not at this moment, because part of this would be part of the MCAS report.
Okay. And
Bonnie?
yes, yes.
I have two
Yes.
questions, two quick
Please, sorry, I didn't.
for the superintendent. One, at our last meeting on October 12th, you said you would have for this meeting a report on the results of MCAS. for
That,
this-
we're doing that tonight.
Yeah,
It's here on the,
it's on the agenda.
it's B.
Just says.
That's what I was saying, so
Number 12B.
we're gonna do it tonight.
Oh, okay. Then my second question is, do you know how many of the 64 pre-K students in the district actually reside in the district? I'm sure that information is available.
So she's our pre-K coordinator.
Yeah.
There are only, we looked at this today, I think there's only 2 that don't, and they have.
So 62 out of 64 reside in the district? Okay, thanks.
We got all the information together.
Okay,
Requested.
thank
Yeah,
you.
we had an information request, and so we're putting that together.
And I'm now speaking for the whole school committee, please send Julie our love and support.
I will do that.
Okay. Let's turn to Sandy.
So I put a report, I'm sorry I didn't have it to you in your packet, but I put it in your folder for you all. It's a detailed report about some of the grant funding that we received for mental health services and how they support our school district in various ways. So there's kind of a detailed report on very focused social emotional learning and mental health grants, the Safe and Supportive Schools grant. I even put information about the 262 grant, which is geared specifically toward pre-kindergarten and the supports we provide there. I talk a little bit about collaborative care coordination that I have mentioned to you that we're doing with our local pediatricians' offices. And I just wanted you to have an idea of what those grants are funding. And you can certainly read that at your own leisure, but I tried to be as detailed as possible about those grants. I don't want to take too much more of your time because we do have a big MCAS presentation and at 7:30 you have another meeting. So if you have any questions about that, feel free to ask me. I just wanted to go back, Carl just asked a specific question. Carl, we did look at last year's numbers because we had to look at the October 1 report, Carl, about pre-kindergarten. So I'm just mentioning that to you. So when I was working with Chris Desjardins today out of the business office, some of those numbers are from last year. So just keep that in mind when you get that information, because we could only go on the finalized numbers.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much, Sandy.
Thank you.
MCAS.
Okay, this is a team approach, as always. So are you guys going to come forward, or are you going to do it from there? That's where I'm going to do it from. Well, I feel like you should be.
So, because we have so many people on Zoom.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
Can I just
Of course.
you pointed out to me that it was 12B.
Did I say the wrong number?
No, it's right, it's just, it says.
It's just that it says
So I hope you can understand my
Yes, your
confusion
confusion.
about the omission of
Yes.
MCAS when you said it's MASC.
Well, how did I read it as MCAS. How do you feel about that?
Right.
Does that tell you how tired I'm delusional? I'm actually delusional right now.
You're a little red.
I really like Carl
Okay,
too.
That's our newness. I apologize. I didn't catch it.
Yes, MCAS is listed as MASC.
Yes, there's a lot of those acronyms that you can just switch one letter and look at that. You have a whole new one. I apologize.
Well, it looks an awful lot like Mass Association.
Yeah, right? It was also that.
Okay.
Oh, the new girl.
Michelle's apologizing.
I'm sorry. I'll take it.
You're forgiven.
First initial in the three.
I know.
All right, who's beginning the show?
That would be me.
We'll let you live.
Next slide, please. So we're going to try to go through and provide as much background as we can. And we're happy to get more information or give more detail, but we're going to do this at a really high level. For those who don't know, I think we got it right here. We got it on the slide the right way. What MCAS is our comprehensive assessment system, which is administered annually. You can see what grades and what subjects are recorded under MCAS, and the whole point of the MCAS is to assess whether students are exceeding, meeting, partially meeting, or not meeting the grade level standards in the tested content areas. Why does it matter? Next slide. So MCAS is one tool that provides the school community with feedback on how well students are progressing compared to other students across the state. It's also used as part of our accountability system to assess how well schools and/or districts are performing. And at the high school level, the 10th grade MCAS is used to determine whether or not a student will graduate and receive a diploma. So I think it's important, I'm not going to go through all of this, but clearly we know there was a national impact with COVID on the test. And in the midst of all of that, if you look back, 2019 was the last time it was administered in what we would have called the normal format. And when you move ahead to 2022, we were back administering the test, but we'd moved to the next generation version of MCAS. So a lot happened while COVID was going on, but you can see why there's an impact on, and it just makes sense. But there's a little graph showing some of the different evolutions of the exam and who took what. All right, so for our 2023 official accountability report for Southern Berkshire. Our overall classification is that we do not require assistance or intervention because we've made substantial progress towards our targets.
Excellent.
So that is excellent for us. I did a lot of little mini dances by myself in the office when first I had to figure out how to get into the system with Julie not being here, so that was another little dance, and then there was this. But it was at every school level and at the district level, so this is great news. The progress based on our math achievement and growth and our attendance numbers improved, and we had, as it says, substantial progress towards our targets. Okay, so we're gonna flip back and forth between those who are gonna present. So I think elementary is up first. Next slide, please.
We'll go to the next slide.
Yeah, so in here, do you want me to just?
It's a redundancy. You could just go to the next slide.
Right, there it is.
It's a little harder to see, but because we're talking about 2019 to 2023, that's a 5-year window of testing. I just want to tell you how we did in 2019 against the state. For the green and the blue, that's students that met or exceeded. So adding them together, the district in 2019 in math, we were 32 versus 49. So the state was 49% and we were only 32. And in ELA, the state was 52 and we were 46. So if you flip forward to the next slide, this past year, the district was.
Did I give you the wrong one? I'm sorry.
This is 3.8. So we're 39 versus 42, and is this 3.8? Yeah, 36 versus 40. And when we go forward to actually looking at SGP, which is student growth percentile, we're going to see what this actually means, because these are actually numbers, how many kids in staff met or exceeded, but we're going to look at the growth, which is
a little different.
It's a little different and somewhat same more important.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm gonna do that later. I'm doing it later.
I'm going to keep that. Everybody's we're gonna emphasize a couple of grades then. So that was averaging 3 through 8. So I'm gonna look at third grade specifically. That's our benchmark. That's our baseline. That's the first time anybody takes the test. There is no SGP at third grade. You can't compare that to something else. But I can compare to how we did in 19 to how we did in 23. So in 19, we were 44 versus 56 in ELA and 32 versus 49. So we were well below the state. And in 2023 in ELA, we were 49 versus 44, so above the state. That was in ELA, and in math, we were 57 met or exceeded, and the state was at 41. So we were 16% higher, and that was third grade. I can go on to fourth grade. It's
I think it's-
similar numbers if you want me to do fourth grade
That's fine.
also. Okay.
We're just highlighting.
Yeah.
View.
Fourth grade was similar growth. In 19 ELA, we were 46 to 39, and 60, no, I'm sorry.
I know that.
Too many graphs. 44 to 51, so we were below the state in ELA in fourth grade. We were 46 to 49, below the state in ELA. And then in 2023, this last year, ELA, we were 46 to 39, so above. And then in math, and we all know this is our third year of our new math program, we were 65 met or exceeded to 45 for the state, and that was in fourth grade. And I could do this often, but I think anybody else.
I made him stop. I made him only give a few examples.
That is.
So, go ahead, Mr. Miller.
Sorry, the first I just want to know, I don't dislike my colleagues, like I said, and stuff that didn't comment, so. But I just wanted to give you two main takeaways that this is really good as well.
Can you speak a little louder?
Okay. So, what Paul illustrated quite confidently is that we have made progress in terms of student percent in both ELA and math compared to the state. However, I don't want to mislead you, we still have significant progress to make. If we look at how we're doing compared to the rest of the districts near us, we're doing relatively well. However, when we look across the state and we look at per student spending, we want to do better. And so what does that particular mean? These are the 4 steps we've taken over the last couple of years to try to implement first a new ELA curriculum, implement a culture of data analytics, so we're actually analyzing data in real time and progress monitoring. So teachers, we use programs and materials that allow teachers in real time to see how kids are doing and both provide tier 1 interventions, but also small group and one-on-one tier 2 and pre-interventions to try to improve their students. And we're seeing evidence that is working. I'm not going to talk about math because we made a lot more progress in math, but I do want to leave you with one specific kind of line item that we have seen now reoccurring that we're trying to attack, and that is that when we look at the types of problems that students within our district are struggling on the most, and I'm only talking about 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade, but obviously 3rd grade, but are the writing questions, the open-ended writing questions. So when we're looking at how we're supporting students not only in ELA, but in social studies and science and math, we're looking at providing more opportunities for writing, and that also includes from pre-K on up opportunities to do journaling, because the evidence and research shows that kids don't just need explanatory kind of rote, writing that's academic, but also when they're encouraged to write and express themselves from a young age in a variety of forms, both creative and academic, that then they're later more successful in those literacy outcomes. Yeah.
Question, David.
The multiple methods of kind of getting more communication out of the students, does that include like different kinds of writing, like typing versus write cursive and so on?
It's a good question. And it's done in the week recently with colleagues at other schools in terms of there's some schools that do the way cursive. There is research to suggest that the way the brain the way language kind of is formed and people express themselves, like actually writing by hand is still really important. And so we're doing both writing and typing. And actually, I spoke to my 3rd grade teachers at Under Mountain in New Marlboro today, who wanted to ensure that they were doing typing in the library because they wanted to prepare for the test. However, we don't, to be clear, we don't teach to the test. If we just taught to the test, we probably perform slightly better, but I think overall and education involves more than
Thank you. Okay. Who's speaking?
I don't know, because I'm just going to see what the next slide
Okay,
says.
Jesse?
Can I have a quick question?
Yep.
On these MCAS scores and stuff like that, do these include, I mean, what happens to, because I know we had a rash of students opt out on things. Do our scores include the opt-outs?
So
That's what I want to know.
So we've had less in terms of the accountability of participation. You'll see one of these slides and so on, we get a participation rate. And my first year here, we kind of had cohort families that were leading this movement to opt out. We've had a lot less recently. And I think also part of that is putting less pressure on the process as well. Although I want everyone to participate because yes, we can get penalized for not participating.
Kyle?
I'm just curious if, I mean, this is my first year seeing any of these statistics, and I don't know how far back they go, but I mean, they go a long way back, I'm sure, but I don't know if any of you know whether or not having a small district and a small student sample causes like a swing that would be more evident in this district than it would be in, like, say, a much larger district.
Yes.
That's a great question. The short
Yeah.
answer is yes, because
Right.
one student could equal 2, 3, 4 percentage points.
Yeah.
To the point of like opting out.
Opting
or
out.
Even students who are sick. Like, there's no, you could have a medically excused student, but it still counts, towards, if you fall in the last category, which shows up on the red on these things. So hypothetically, which is out of some kids' control, it comes up as sort of a 0.
Yeah.
And so with a small district, those percentage points get greater for each student.
Can I add to that? That's why, and we haven't gotten SGPs who broke percentile yet, that's why I believe that data is more relevant, and because it eliminates that factor.
What I'd like to do, even though I let our attorney know we're delayed, I'd like if we could finish the whole presentation and then see if there are additional questions.
I just think it might be easier and for flow
Right,
and then
right.
to go back
Okay.
and do questions.
Alright.
Okay, Mr. Carpenter?
Yeah, this slide's fine. So, now, did you skip over science? 5 through 8? Yeah, okay. So,
It's hard to read.
Paul spoke to grades 3 through 8, so obviously includes our middle school, but we're talking about those. Science, the first 2 times, science and tech, engineering, the first 2 times the kids take it are first and 5th grade and then in 8th grade before they take the 9th grade. We've been testing kids in biology in 9th grade. You do have some choices among the sciences. For our kids in 5th grade and 8th grade, we come in at about 20% meeting or exceeding. The state was at about 41%. We've done a whole lot of reconfiguring over the last couple of years in terms of our sequence of how we teach science, starting as early as, 1st and 7th grade all the way through to 8th grade. And we continue to look at that and see, when we analyze the scores of each question, which ones we're not doing as well on to make sure in that sequence of sciences we catch them. I'll show you a slide later for the high school scores where we're above the state average. If you go to the next one, Chris, ELA for 10th grade, we were about 41% at meeting or exceeding. The state was a little higher at 58%. One of the things that we've put in across the district is we move towards the HMH English language arts curriculum, which I think will help in the process where we want to go. For those of you that don't know, the last 2 years of state testing for English language arts is a totally different test compared to what it has been. They refer to the old test as a legacy test, which was a very different way that they asked kids to think about writing. The new test requires a lot more comparing to articles and things like that, which was different than the old system, which was basically, the writing was based on writing an essay on a general topic, which was sort of wide open. Now it's pretty precise of, look at these two, compare the theme, look at these 2 characters, things like that. Chris, we want to go to the next one. In math, this past year, we were 48% meeting or exceeding. The state was at about 50%. Again, one of the things we looked at the end of last year was getting our math curriculum aligned with the same curriculum. And so following the lead of some of the stuff we had done in the past in math, we used HMH at the high school level. The nice added bonus is some computer applications for kids to get some extra practice and things like that. We're using a couple math classes, but now we've gone kind of straight across the board. Chris, if you go to the next couple, science, yeah. So for high school science, we use a program called Edwin that takes all this information out. It lists all the schools as 10th grade for science, regardless of when you take it. Our kids take it in 9th grade. And so when they took it this past year, we were 58% exceeding, or meeting or exceeding expectations. The state was at about 47%. In terms of the test, it's really about biology. You have the option of doing physics, you have the option of doing a couple other tests. We thought we kind of moved away from doing anything except biology because it would allow the kids to not have to take 3 tests their sophomore year, rather they do 1 in 9th grade and then 2 in 10th grade. That seems to have worked pretty well for us in our sequence of science classes. We used to do it in 10th grade because we had biology as a 10th grade class. The kids were taking 3 MCAS tests. By the time they got to the end of science, there was some serious test fatigue. So we made that adjustment a few years ago, made it a lot easier on the kids. We see with our kids in middle school, in 8th grade, when they got to take English, math, and science. By the time they get to the science test, they've had to say that. In 5th grade, yeah. Those grades. Chris, if you go to the next one, you can skip that one. That's just a different way of looking at the same things that I went over. We just put these in there for you to see. It's just a different graph form that tells you the actual percentages rather than just the bar graph. Chris, if you go one more, here we go. We're going to move to our growth analysis.
So this is really what we think is where the importance of all of this, where the rubber meets the road, let's say. So what is student growth percentile? This is how we measure the achievement and how it's changed over time. So we're saying growth is different than achievement. Bottom line, we've always said this, we've never been a district that teaches to the test, but we wanted to meet our students at where they were at and see growth from there. And we wanted to bring in high-quality instructional materials. We wanted to bring in professional development. We want to bring in coaching. We want to support at everywhere that we can, and the outcome of that is growth, right? That's what our theory of action, shall we say, is. Okay, so let's see how we did. So this growth percentile.
So everyone understands typical growth would be between 40 and 60 percentile. So anything in there is the state says that's where you need to be in between 40 and 60. If you're below, or above that. So our 3 to 8s were at 51%, and the state was at 50%. So slightly above, but right in the middle of the typical growth that the state likes to see, between 40 and 60. You can go to the next one.
Oh, wait, before you go there, just to give you a reference point, because the MCAS information is just in there, they haven't done a lot of comparisons around the state, but they have done a little bit with the growth percentile. And so just as an indicator, and it's a little different, the slide is 3 through 8. They've given us some information 4 through 8. So in terms of our 4th graders through 8th graders, we had the second most growth percentile in the county. Us and Mount Greylock had the same percentage of 51%.
So you see 3 to 8 math. If you looked at achievement, we were slightly below the state. But if you look at SGP, where again typical growth is 40 to 60, we're at 56, where the state's at 50. So we're doing well in that area.
From the state one that looked at 4 through 8, we were tied for first with Lee in terms of most growth percentile in those grades.
10th grade here, you can see again, we're very, in math, we're pretty even with the state in achievement, but as, again, 72% is well above the typical growth where the state's at 50%.
That was the first in Berkshire County in terms of growth. I think one of the things to add is that, we were sort of with R.S.D. last year was kind of the second year, and the first year we sort of just dabbled in it, and really, basically right at the beginning of the school year jumped into it with not having a whole lot of professional development for the teachers. Last year was much more, and so you start to see sort of the growth percentile as, those kids in their first year of 8th grade, taking it as 10th graders. We saw the growth we were looking for. And then the last one with ELA in 10th grade, our growth percentile was below the state. In terms of where we're going in ELA, we spent a whole lot of time looking at writing, which seemed to be with the new test, where our kids need to show the most growth. And so if we go down to the nitty-gritty of certain grade levels, we saw tremendous growth with our 8th grade group. And we tried some things with the new curriculum, and then just working on writing in a couple different ways than we had before. And we're trying to replicate that in the other middle school grade levels, as well as in 9th and 10th grade. It requires students to do a lot more of looking at different things, and really the big thing is pointing out textual evidence, which, if you go back prior to the pandemic, the legacy test didn't really ask kids to do that. And so we're working on that really grades 6 through 10 right now, which helps them because as we look at these early college classes, a lot of the writing is really based in that ability to take that textual evidence out and be able to show it.
Okay, I think there's just more highlights,
I would
right?
just say this just highlights more of the same, and we just gave you in the last couple, this one is, as you go through, it's for individual grade levels, just to show you kind of where we are. And so
That was fourth grade.
This one is
4th grade, ELA.
Yeah. So it's just some individual grade levels. As I was talking, 8th grade ELA, Chris, if you could, we get to a couple of those that can show you like individual grade levels as you go. And again, it's a lot of information in a short amount of time, so you have some time. I would encourage you using readers if you don't have glasses.
Yeah.
I had amazing vision until I started analyzing MCAS. Now I have to have glasses.
I have the notes. Do you want, Charles?
Sorry, can I get a comment?
Okay.
So in addition to high-quality instructional materials that Beth mentioned, we also align it with high-quality professional development. And I just want to share 2 things. We're working with Mike right now, both in terms of our math, professional development, and then the first one regards to the implementation of our Into Reading program. We are working with TNTP, that's the new teacher project, and they will be, so they're coming in and they have teacher coaches and principal coaches, and they're helping us use those kind of high-quality levels to improve instruction and coach our teachers to feel more confident in taking risks and trying them.
We're not done yet.
Okay.
Let us finish.
We have one.
Go ahead, that's fine.
We have 2 more
Two more
slides.
slides.
Go ahead.
Go to the next one.
This is very important.
You want to jump in?
So I just want to talk about our Fast Bridge platform. Another way we dive a little bit deeper for each of our students is we use curriculum-based credit for all of our students in math and ELA. It's a quick way. It takes about 1 class period. We do it 3 times a year, fall, winter, and spring again. It helps us get some reads on where the kids are again individually. This is just an example of a 9th grade student. I believe we started in 2019 is when we...
We did. We just showed, when we did 2019, we were targeting, it was more like 2020, we started talking about 19. 2020, we did certain classes like we didn't have it 6 through 12. We wanted to try it out. And so on this, you'll see starting in the fall of 2020, it really, it's really us going every grade level. And so that's why we kind of use that as the starting point.
So the platform is aligned with the Massachusetts standards, so it's all, giving us that information. The graph here shows you kiddos potentially in the college pathway, low risk, some risk, high risk. So it really gives us an opportunity to identify the kiddos that might need intervention. One of the teachers that just came into the room, we have some times during advisory in the high school where students are getting some extra support in reading and math if they come up needing it through these measures. It also allows for reading level, so the content area teachers are informed about where students are reading, so in case they need help with accessing reading material, we get the reading levels. It also has lesson plans designed to help teachers with the interventions, which I think is super helpful. And it just monitors student growth. So if a kiddo is identified with needing, having some risk, you're able to go in there and more precisely progress monitor those kiddos, so you're not, you're paying more attention to them because they need it. Yeah, I think there might be one more. There's just another. Oh, that was.
Chris, if you just go back one.
Yeah, there's just another example. But you see a little bit. I just want to explain a little bit of the dip there. Jesse, do you want to go ahead?
Oh no, just Chris, if you can just go to the English one that comes last. That one? Yeah, that one. Just, you go ahead and jump in. Just, you can kind of see it's useful. This is one student in the district. And so when a teacher looks at sort of the progress, you can see the dip in the fall of 21, 22. And that was from where the kid was in the spring. And so, of the previous year. So sometimes we talk about that learning loss over the summer. And so for a teacher to see that, they can do some, and really what it is, it's like on-time adjustments. It's not like with MCAS where they have taken it like last spring and then you're trying to figure it out. You kind of on the, as you're working with the students, you can come up with interventions. And you can see how that student in the winter then got right back to where they were, and since then has sort of climbed into that next level. Fastbridge uses the term college pathway, not necessarily as we would think that that's the kid who's going to college. It's an easy way for them instead of using like on grade level. Essentially what they're saying is anybody who ends up in that top portion in blue is academically on grade level, who can then go from 12th grade to then end college experience. And some of the other ones, low risk, some risk, there's ways to use the program to do interventions. I think it's important that everybody knows Fastbridge isn't the only data point we use. So there's R.S.D with math, which has some amazing things that teachers can use around individual kid interventions. And then HMH, which is now in the ELA program, using the same kind of thing as their own sort of benchmarks, as well as teachers using formative assessments to sort of align day-to-day instruction. And so we're trying to use all of those things as points of where we go with each individual student.
So I don't have to, I think every presenter has said almost all of these things. These are all part of our strategy for continuous improvement. That's how we put it to you. We're always looking for ways to continuously improve. We're not saying we're all the way where we want to be. We're not saying, we don't have any work to do. What we're saying is that we like what we're seeing based on the strategies and the materials and the professional development and the growth. And I will just say, ad lib, it's not here. I had 2 opportunities to hear about this. One from a teacher who came down and said, boy, it was a lot of work when we implemented math. This is an elementary teacher, but now that we've got the hang of this and we're in year 3 and we're seeing such growth and we're seeing a complete change in student confidence and teacher confidence, and I'm so excited now I'm doing this in ELA, and now look at the growth. It's just so amazing, and just was going on and on. I didn't have to say anything. I'm like, could I just tape this? And so I don't have to try to recap what you're saying because it's out of your mouth. And so really that, and then a parent of a student who who was sharing that, she opened her MCAS scores and she kept checking to make sure it was her student who had only gotten 2 wrong. And the student happened to be sitting there with quite a grin on and had a whole different opinion about math and their confidence level and what they can do. So I think that is far more important and a better testimonial than any of this stuff that we can give you in a chart. But I think we just need a lot more of this, and we're going to see what we're hoping for.
Okay, so we have any additional?
We are done with
presentation?
slides.
All right, let's see if we can, monitor in terms of time. Jim?
As the only statistics geek on the board, I think you guys did a really good job presenting some pretty complicated stuff. That's one. Two, I'm really impressed with this is every student. We're looking at every student and how are we going to help this guy or this girl, and that's really makes me really happy with what's going on. Thank you.
I would thank you for that. I will add, and we didn't focus on it because we were talking MCAS, but just some of the things like the universal mental health screening. Fastbridge has an aspect called My Savers, so we are looking at the social emotional aspects as well and tracking data on that. But we didn't focus on it because it was more of an MCAS topic.
Kim?
I just have 2 quick things. Having 3 children in district, coming out of pandemic, taking MCAS. My children always were right there, but I noticed this year they're farther up the line. One of mine scoring really excellent on the biology one, but I noticed the progression for the last couple of years in their scores, which means they're understanding it more. Secondly, because I like data and charts and stuff like that, so I went to the DESE website and checked out MCAS. And my question is, so I noticed that, we have scores and everybody has scores and, a couple people might be 1 or 2 points above us or whatever. But I noticed the notes at the end, which is what I kind of dwelled on, where our district does not need assistance because we're going in the positive. And I noticed that other districts in Western Mass or in our area might be a point or 2 ahead of us on the scoring, but they still say need assistance, like they need help getting their students back to where they're going. Does that mean they're not growing?
A lot of it has to do with growth percentile.
Right.
And a lot of it has to do with when you look at our scores from 2 years ago to our scores last year, we had some kids who were sort of in that partially meeting but high. And so what happens, you get a couple kids in each class
to bump,
and they get into the meeting, and that helps with the student growth percentile. I mean, that's something we didn't dwell on here, but I think our teachers across the district last year did a good job getting some of those kids who are right on the edge of getting to meeting expectations there. And you kind of see in some of our examples, we didn't have a whole lot in the exceeding expectations, but we kind of think the same thing's going to happen because we've got a bunch of kids who are at the high meeting. And it's a couple questions. It's just one more point on a writing thing that kind of bumps them into the next section. And so we're using a lot of this data to drill down individually to see, what do the kids need and how can we get that? Because ultimately, right, we want all the kids to be meeting or exceeding. And again, when you look at 10th grade MCAS, the way they have it set, you don't necessarily need to get to meeting expectations to meet your graduation requirement. And so again, it's for us seeing that growth, like how can they get from, when we track them from 3rd grade all the way to 10th grade. And when you see it across those lines, it's amazing sometimes the growth that we see in some of our students.
Okay, Nancy?
Quick question, and this question is speaking as a university professor who worked with students from freshman through, with the same students from freshman through senior year, just because of the courses that I taught in a small program. Do you find when you apply all these different metrics and start catching deficiencies, for lack of a better word, but you start seeing where students are starting to fall back or starting to struggle, do you see that if you're starting to catch them, say in 3rd grade, and help them make their way up, that by the time they get to 10th grade or 11th grade, that they're good at saying, I need help. Do you see that? Do you see that change?
It's a work in progress in getting kids, students where they need to be in terms of that self-advocacy.
Right.
And I think we've done a lot since, and I'll just use the pandemic as a way to, once we got kids back in school, it was just so weird. Because they didn't really want to participate, the rules of, the way we used to do school. So we kind of lost that a little bit. And I think last year was a good start of kids feeling more comfortable in that open, participation, in the idea of, I'm going to ask for help because it's more natural now. And I think that's part of like what we're trying to do, right? Like you lead kids in a certain direction. You try to create interventions. But sometimes we get kids who advocate for themselves who are like, right from the start, I don't understand this concept. I think that's what we're all trying to get to as we move more towards what we call like student-centered classrooms.
Yeah, no, and I'll say as a university professor working with freshmen that you're giving a great gift to university
Charles had his hand up. Charles had his hand up.
I know.
I didn't know, because it's like.
Okay.
Because he's all by
Charles.
himself.
Oh, no, I just also think it's worth adding, because although
Louder, because you can't be picked up.
yeah, it's worth adding, although MCAS data is not going to reveal this, we can look at multiple years of data when we review it. So when we look at how third grade has performed in the last 3 years, we also have a sense of how the early interventions in pre-K through second grade are benefiting literacy outcomes in third grade. And so that involves, we assess kids with early literacy skills like DIBELS, and some of our teachers still do developmental reading assessment. But the point is that that early literacy instruction, and that's the homeroom teacher, that's the special education teacher, that's the interventionist, that's the paraprofessional who we've moved away from just doing copy work and actually doing direct instruction with the support of the teacher. That's all equating to third graders who are better prepared in their literacy and math skills. And I just felt like it's worth recognizing. I know you're on the college end of the spectrum.
But that's what I'm looking at.
But when I
That's
look
what my
at
question
third
is.
grade and how they're doing, and how they're coming in compared to other third grades in previous years, over 5 or 6 years, minus that COVID year when we didn't assess them, it's translating into better competency in looking at them.
Yeah, no, and I'm saying that's kind of where my question was going exactly.
Art.
Thank you.
Question. You said you get to pick like biology versus physics, or is that across the board or just in the sciences?
Just science. You have to lock into one test that you're going to give. And so, you have some options in physics and biology. We found that the biology one was a good one because for us in our sequence of sciences, we go biology, chemistry, then physics.
No, because
we didn't let the idea wait until 11th grade to do that. And we talked a lot about our sequence in science, and we didn't want to go physics, then biology, then chemistry. We thought it transitioned in a better way going biology. Because before we made the biology switch, we did physical science as the first one. And we found when we compared the first physics, exam in MCAS, the physical science didn't have enough of the physics for that test. And so that's why we decided to then change the sequence, biology, chemistry, and then kids who want to take physics can, or if they want to take environmental science or other electives, or now jump into the college track. So we have a bunch of kids that went, they did their biology, they did their chemistry, and then some of them as 11th graders now jumped into anatomy and physiology as a college class. Some of them are waiting to do, there's a forensic science that's being offered in the spring. And then there were a couple of kids who did the AP chemistry, which we do through VHS, the virtual high school, under a state grant. And so they're doing that, which is a pretty cool program for kids to shoot for some of the science APs that, we might only have 1 or 2 kids in it, but they're still getting opportunities. So.
I'd just like to say this is the most comprehensive approach that I think we've done to looking at MCAS and looking at what you are all doing. And when you talk about third grade math, that's been an enormous problem for years and years to see how that's making a difference. And also, when you read what our students said in this booklet, they say it's the individualized attention. So the fact that, you pick up on what it was like in the past when they're sitting there for 3 MCAS in 4 minutes, you're addressing the individual needs, but I think for us, we can see an overall picture. This is something I know you don't want to do, guys, but do you think it would make sense, not with 90 different charts, but to write an overall report to parents?
Well, I'm required to do that, and put it on the website, but, yeah, I think,
What the parents do get
Yes.
from the state that we mail out to them once everything's unembargoed.
Right.
It's a pretty comprehensive breakdown of where they were, where they went, what their growth percentile is. So for a lot of the parents who read through that document that comes from us but is really published by the state, it gives them a lot of this information so they can see individually with their children where they're going.
But I'm going beyond that and saying
Talking
what
about
we've
our
done
approach.
as a district.
Yeah.
What have we, letting them know, this is not, just so I'm asking if that's a possibility. The other is, what have you done in terms of engaging teachers in seeing how our teachers are making a difference by following what's been laid out in terms of program, staff development, et cetera. So
but they're part
what
of that
kind
decision. They're part of those decisions, right? They helped us
Right.
pick the high-quality curriculum that we chose.
I know that.
Yeah.
I'm saying now that you have this, what are they getting, what we're getting in terms of a report? So that they could see they've succeeded.
Individually, like, when we've met at the elementary level, middle school level, with teachers talking about the data from the previous year, the teachers can see, we have in middle school, we have overlap where teachers are teaching 2 grade levels, and teacher from 6th grade is able to look at the kids he has in 7th grade and say, oh, wow, here's where I thought we were going to be. Wow, I can't believe the improvements. And so we're doing those sort of analysis as we go. I think naturally it comes out that, as Beth said, they make comments like, that's really working. This way that we've tried to do our activities is really working.
So the only other thing I would add to that is, so listening to this, right, and with the amount of data and the amount of different, even real-time assessments, we put in those 2 data coordinator stipend positions that are pulling information for teachers to help them in real time. So they're not doing that on top of making decisions on how they're going to. So, we're evolving as we get more information and make those decisions.
Thank you. Thank all of you. Charles, you get the closing comment.
I don't want that pressure. Paul's going to talk after me, but I just want to say, though, teachers also have a ubiquitous tendency to look at data and find the opportunities for growth, right? So although we're obviously presenting where we see a lot of improvement and our small wins, and it's not that they're cynical or glasses half empty in some way, but I do find, maybe, I'll speak for elementary school teachers and myself as an elementary school teacher, they attack the data in the right way. They want to see where they didn't do well, to see what they can change to improve instruction or teaching.
That's great. And Paul, therefore, you get the closing comment.
Take it away.
Go to it.
We're so good.
So we have our new data position at both levels, and we built in a new data meeting at grade level every week in elementary school, and that was Julie's suggestion and my sweat and tears.
And the scheduling, yes.
So what you're saying is, yes, we're doing that. We have someone pulling all the data, putting it all together, and we're meeting on a weekly basis at grade level with the teachers.
Great. Thank you. Thank all of you.
Yeah.
You've had a really long week, a long date. We're going to move ahead at this point, and we're going to move ahead. The MASC resolutions we have to go to, because that's, thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
You had a hand.
Yeah, but we really, we'll get you way behind. Carl, it's you now.
So I'll just give add a cautionary note to what you're to thinking about how you want to vote on each of these resolutions. And that is, bear in mind that you are not voting your personal preference. So let's say that you are a Second Amendment absolutist and you don't think guns should have to be locked. It doesn't matter what you think personally. You're supposed to be voting for or against these resolutions on the way you think your constituents, meaning the entire population of the Southern Berkshire Regional School District would vote. So if you don't think guns should be locked up, it's not important. You're entitled to think that. But the resolution is, and it's mass law, by the way, that it can be, you can be charged with a minimum of a misdemeanor for failing to lock your guns in your home. So don't vote what you think you would want the state to ask you to do. Think about what your constituents want you to do with respect to this. And I think most of them are self-explanatory. I think my personal view is that they're all non-controversial. You can disagree, but we will look very bad as a school district if I go to the, which I will, go to the resolutions meeting and say my school has not made a decision.
Okay, so start us with the first one.
Well, okay, so I'm just going to, I assume that all of you are reasonably familiar with the 8 resolutions.
I'm glad you said reasonably familiar. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, because some of them are fairly technical and shouldn't be controversial. So this is what I'm going to ask you to do, simply so that I can make...
If you send the little bag
so that I can make my report of what
No.
the school committee has decided on these. Resolution 1 is full stable funding for Metco. And it has to do with racial diversity, and so we have to take a vote on each one of the 8 separately, because if we say, do you approve or disapprove, you may approve of 1, disapprove of 2, approve of 3, so we have to do this. We can do it very quickly. I believe the proper way to handle this is, since I'm the person who's reporting to the Resolutions Committee of MASC, I'll make motions with respect to each one.
Great.
So I move that the Southern Berkshire Regional School District adopt and approve of Resolution 1.
And do you need a second?
Yeah, I do need a second.
So we can talk about it now.
Okay.
Now, any discussion? Can I do this?
Yes, go,
Can I ask
I'm
for any
turning,
discussion?
yes,
Yeah.
I'm turning it to you, right.
I don't want
Thank
to
you.
step on toes.
No. Okay, can we do it by just show of hands?
I'm fine with that.
Okay. Seeing no discussion, let's, a show of hands if you're in favor.
Okay, the ayes have it.
Okay.
And we don't need to record a vote, we just need that it's approved.
Right.
Okay, I move that the Southern Berkshire Regional, I'm going to shorten it. I move that the committee adopt resolution number 2 regarding investigations and recommendations for transportation bidding procedures.
Second.
So there's a second from Nancy.
Yeah,
Any
this
discussion?
is definitely important. I would like to say that this is a total case, what we've discussed for ages, where you do not have competitive bidding on transportation. So I'm happy we have this, so I'm speaking in favor of it.
Okay. Anyone
Okay.
else? Okay.
All right, show of hands.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go to it, go to it.
Yeah, show of hands. Okay, carries. Looks like Sarah was reluctant, but she had her half hand raised.
I wasn't
So is
sure
it
where we
9 and a
were
half?
here, so-
9 and a half to a half?
Yeah, no, I'm good, I've read these,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
So we have 10.
Okay. I move that the school committee adopt resolution number 3 on regional transportation.
Second.
Any discussion?
Can I say anything?
Yes,
Yes, of course.
absolutely.
I have to say this, and it's also my former district, so I don't mean to be disparaging in any way. I like some of the idea of this, but the realistic portion of, so I'm assuming what it's saying, I read it a while ago, so, is that we'd be allowed to charge for really the difference between what the state doesn't give us in regional, like, so let's just say, right, you'd be able to charge those who choose to ride, like the 10% difference that the state doesn't give you in regional transportation reimbursement on your costs, isn't that what this is saying? And I don't know what the reality would be for us to support something like that. And I mean, I guess it's giving districts who might want to consider doing that, but I don't know that I could see us with our population trying to charge the, if I just.
No, when I read it, that was exactly my
Is that what you
concern as
thought?
well. David?
I agree, that was my interpretation of the language as
okay.
well. And I would encourage everyone to vote no, because a future school committee might make a different decision, but I don't think, we have we're a rural community with many families that are a long distance away, and I think it doesn't make sense for anyone in the district to allow the district to just decide that certain pupils should have to pay for transport just because they live farther away.
Or because the state isn't keeping their promise.
Right.
It's really the, right? So then you're going to,
Right, well, if the state pays, we're still
Right.
going to pay for them if they're closer. We're just not going to pay for farther away.
Right.
So that would provide a significant benefit to people living in Sheffield versus, say, New Marlboro or Alford.
And you're now dealing with people who choice within our district to New Marlboro
I
Central.
mean, you don't have to
or
adopt,
Berlin.
I'm just saying, to me, that was
Yeah.
a glaring,
I'm going to what Carl said about thinking about the larger community and advocating for our constituents. I would say no. My view is.
I agree.
Okay, any further discussion? In that case, Carl, you want to?
Yeah, just show of hands. In
In favor.
Okay, so it's,
Wait, you got to get the opposed, even though some people may not be voting. Opposed?
okay.
So that's opposed. Assuming, how are you voting, Carl?
I'm not.
Oh, you're not, okay.
No, I don't think I should.
Okay.
Because I'm a reporter.
Okay,
and
all right,
not
let's
an
move along. Okay.
Resolution 4.
It'll be fine.
I move that the school committee approve Resolution 4 on diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Second.
Any comments?
My one comment is creating this position, that every district create this DI coordinator.
Well, but let me just say something about it. This is not saying, if you approve the resolution, this is not saying we will do it or you must do it. It's
Good
saying
point.
that we accept the recommendation of,
Good point.
of the resolutions committee that you should do it, but it's certainly not mandatory.
Good point, thank you.
And you could do it in a variety of ways. It doesn't have to be a new position. It could be an added
Right.
responsibility, right?
Right.
Okay.
Haven't we just added, I mean, this is a little off the point, but haven't we added a homeless student coordinator?
No, that's a stipend that has been there.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Okay.
All right, so no discussion, all
All in favor?
Okay, we've got a majority.
I'm just reading it still, trying to
Okay.
progress it.
Well, then you can,
I'll just
your vote
abstain.
isn't,
Right.
I don't want to say your vote doesn't matter, but
No,
in
I'm
this
just abstaining
instance-
because I'm trying to digest.
Okay, well, that's fine, that's fine, but it's a yes by show of hands. Resolution 5 relating to the Massachusetts School Building Authority, the MSBA. I move that the school committee adopt Resolution 5 on the Massachusetts School Building Authority.
Second?
Any discussion? All in favor?
I can.
What we have to, I might have to vote here because there might be a tie. Let's see, show of hands again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, James, okay.
Opposed? Okay.
Okay, 2.
3.
3.
Oh, 3? Mm-hmm. Okay. Resolution 6, School Bus Stop Arms Surveillance Act and Enforcement of Penalties. And this simply relates to stiffening the enforcement and the fines imposed for somebody who drives past the school. So before I call on you, David, I will, but I move that the school committee adopt Resolution 6 on school bus surveillance and enforcement and penalties.
Second.
Okay. So, David.
Regarding Resolution 6, this does much more than simply provide for better enforcement. It assuming this was to become law, because this is just a recommendation, the Massachusetts Association of School Committees, assuming everyone approved, we are recommending that surveillance be installed on every school bus. Now, number one, that's going to be a significant cost, and we're probably going to have to bear that. But more importantly, we'd be adding to the already extensive surveillance that exists in the world. And I happen to think there's more than enough surveillance already. If we need more people to watch these things, then we should be having more police in and around places, especially high-traffic places where school buses tend to stop, like in the center of towns. Third, if my research is accurate, police are required to witness this sort of offense, which means there's potential legal issues that attend to that are separate. But I'm not 100% sure if that's correct. But I would urge everyone to vote no on this proposition.
Art?
Go ahead,
David.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, Kyle, go ahead.
Oh, I would just counter-argue that everybody has a digital video detector in their pocket right now.
Yeah.
It could easily just be put on the dashboard of the bus to capture, it's not a big deal, not a significant cost.
You know, you can't have your cell phone in the bus. You can't use your cell phone
Not
in
as
the
a
bus.
driver.
Not as a driver.
You know, it doesn't have to be, it could just be recording on the opposite side of where you're driving or somewhere. I mean, I would think there would be a way to handle it.
Like little
But the
dash
equipment's
cams.
thing. Yeah.
Well, in Berkshire Hills, we have cameras on every single bus and every single van that points forward.
There we go.
And how's it working out?
It's foolproof. There's no black and white. When kids misbehave or cars go through, it's right there.
Yeah.
And takes all the stress out of the bus driver.
And what does that district do if they record a violation?
Report it.
It's reported.
Okay, reported to who?
The state. We have the girl in the office reports all of them.
Right, okay, yeah.
A woman in the office?
In our office, yes.
David?
I would just add that this resolution proposes that the cameras be installed specifically on the stoplight armature that pops out of the bus.
Yeah.
Which would almost certainly require specialized hardware. I don't think anyone would want to just put the phone on that arm. Yeah.
Okay, I mean, your opposition is fine, as long as you think you're reflecting the wishes of the community, not your personal concern about whether a phone goes on the armature, and as long as you think that you're voting in accordance with the parents of sending children to school on a bus, think about someone passing a bus that stopped with children getting off. If you think your view does, then it's fine for you to vote no. But it's really what I said, that cautionary note that I made at the beginning, is that you should really be voting on behalf of the people who elected you, and not on your personal view. But if you feel that you're doing that, that's fine. I won't object to that. I have my own personal views about it. Okay, any further discussion on this issue? Okay, by a show of hands, all in favor of it adopting the resolution indicate. Okay, so it's 8-1 with David being here. So we have a. Which one was that?
That was 6.
6. Okay,
You're
7.
up to MCAS.
7 MCAS. And this just relates to a view of one of the school committees who submitted it. And also, by the way, a school committee submits this, but it doesn't get to be on the resolution list unless the resolution subcommittee of MCAS,
I know it. I jinxed you.
You do it.
I did.
Of MASC, the resolution committee approves it and wants it to go to a full vote. So essentially, this is it's fair to characterize it that way, that it's an anti-MCAS resolution.
Yep.
So I move that the school committee adopt resolution number 7 related to MCAS.
Second. That was a second from Nancy.
You've been really good. Okay, any discussion of this? Okay, show of hands, all in favor? Well, hold it.
Oh, wait.
This is a suggestion that we get, that the Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
I get that, but.
Stop testing until.
But my one question is, isn't funding attached to MCAS?
Kind of.
Because my constituents would want a lot of funding to pay for things at the school, so if I'm voting for
But I don't think,
removing something.
my reading of it doesn't address funding.
Okay.
No, but you're saying if you put a moratorium, is it gonna cause us to
To
not
lose money,
obtain
and
funding?
I know my constituents wouldn't want us to lose money that funds programs.
That's the one part that I have trouble with.
Yeah, so.
Stopping the testing.
Okay.
Effective immediately.
Stopping the testing effective immediately.
Yeah, I don't.
Are you making, Jim, were you saying something?
I think I was talking to myself.
Oh.
I hope you're having a good.
Agreeing with him no matter what.
I hope you and you were having a good conversation there.
It was kind of good.
I enjoyed it. Okay.
Well, if I can make a comment.
Yes,
It basically doesn't do anything other than let MASC do some work.
Nope, it doesn't.
I mean, that's.
It says stop testing now.
But
Immediately.
It's a resolution that really leads to, if it's approved, and so forth, that MASC will
No.
do something,
They're saying the state will have to.
But the one point that MASC urges Massachusetts to enact a moratorium on MCAS testing effective immediately. That's the part that I have a problem with.
Okay. Yes, David?
All of these resolutions are assuming they were adopted by MASC, they're just the MASC recommending to the relative bodies what they should do. In this case, these probably state legislature. Now, I think it's logical to assume that the state legislature would say, okay, well, if we're not doing MASC, we're not going to give you MCAS. We're not going to give you funding for MCAS. But we're not going to be doing MCAS, so that's probably not really a net loss. Because if we're not doing the tests, we don't get funding to do the tests. We didn't lose anything. We simply didn't expend the resources on the testing.
It's more complicated than that.
Yeah.
It always is.
It is.
We probably wouldn't be eligible for grants,
Yeah, you can't fund MCAS when you've eliminated it.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, presumably, the legislature will replace it or modify it if they believe that this is a correct approach to take. There are a lot of people who object to MCAS, and there are a lot of people who don't.
Right.
But I think, this is my non-professional view that a significant number of people in the Commonwealth don't like MCAS. Because it has some serious effects. For example, if you may not get a high school diploma if in 10th grade you don't succeed on the MCAS. This doesn't talk about funding. This isn't related to funding. It's just whether you think your constituents want MCAS to continue with all the things that it involves. Stress on kids, schools knowing where they are, as we saw in the demonstration tonight. So,
Okay, let's
vote. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Nancy seconded it, right?
Yes.
Okay. So all in favor of the motion indicate. Looks like everybody likes MCAS. Okay.
No. And then the opposed, you have to take out opposed. We don't know if everybody's abstaining.
Oh, that's right. Some people are abstaining. Right, nobody raised their hand.
Right.
So everybody is either abstaining or voting no. Okay, let's hear who's voting no. Okay, so Kyle and I are abstentions. Okay, so it's a no. Finally, last one. Safe storage of firearms, self-explanatory. And this tracks Massachusetts law. So this is not revolutionary in any way. I move that the school committee adopt Resolution 8 on the safe storage of firearms.
Second.
Okay, any discussion on this?
Is this including SROs?
Pardon me?
School resource officers. It says safe storage of guns, but our SROs carry theirs.
No, safe storage of guns in the home.
Oh.
No, it only relates to in the home.
Oh, so the school's overreaching, our school is now saying that we have to store guns now. Okay.
Yeah. Yes,
I get it
David?
now.
I would encourage everyone to vote no. I think the voters would really want to vote no. There are many gun owners in our community, and every gun owner, when they go to get their firearms license, has to take a course that, among many other things, explains the safe storage law. When you get a firearm, when you buy a firearm, you get a copy of the safe storage law. Every gun owner is acutely aware of the requirement. Now, regardless of whether people obey the law or disobey it, it's not something that is unknown. It's something that's going to be very familiar to every gun owner. And so it's not only superfluous, but a bit presumptuous for the school to be forcing that down the parents' throats by way of their children.
Well, I also agree that I don't feel like it's my job to write home and communicate to parents about their gun storage.
So, Jim, you had your hand up, yes?
Yes.
I withdraw.
So even in view of the fact that having an unlocked firearm in your home with people under the age of 18 living in that home results in an 80% increase in death or injury, you think parents are okay with an 80% increase for the kids being either committing suicide, being injured, or killed by the use of an unlocked gun. I mean, that's fine.
I think it's overreach is what
Okay,
the constituents
No,
would
I gotta
feel.
answer that.
Very
That is not what I said
quickly.
at all.
Yeah.
All I said is every gun owner is acutely aware of the law regarding safe storage. Their disobedience or obedience is beside the point. If the school sends home a copy of the law and says, this is your duty to protect your children, that's not gonna change that. They already know.
You're sure of that?
Yes, we learn it when we get our LTCs.
And when you buy a firearm, you're
And buy a
given a
firearm.
copy of the safe storage law every time.
And so that means, so in your view, since you get a copy of the safe storage law, that there's no deviance from that law?
No, but
That's not what I'm saying.
Okay, no, we're not cross-discussing.
That's not what he's
What's
saying
that?
is they're either gonna do it or they're not gonna do it. It doesn't matter if she sends home something or doesn't send home something. And whether somebody's gonna go own a gun illegally or not own a gun illegally.
Well, I believe that's pure speculation. I mean, you may be a gun owner, you may be a gun owner, there are people here who may not be, but it's speculation as to whether or not people will obey it, are more likely to obey it if the school committee recommends that you do it. That's speculation, you don't know. You have not taken a survey of how many people
The
comply with
pediatrician
it.
tells us every time we go
Okay,
first.
okay.
Kim,
Sorry.
you're not supposed to.
Okay, let's not do it that way.
Jim, you want to revive your question?
Yes, I do. It's not a question. The last paragraph says the mask urges communities to work together with local law enforcement agencies, health agencies, et cetera, to increase efforts to inform parents. It doesn't say we necessarily have to send home a letter by ourselves. I'm sure.
Yes, it does.
local
It does in the
law
first
enforcement agencies would
The
have
paragraph
some.
before me.
Wait, let's
would have
not,
some.
Well, I think,
No, I know.
Jim,
I just want him
think
to
makes
finish
an
making
important
comments.
point. None of this is mandatory. It doesn't require the superintendent to do anything, it doesn't require the district to do anything.
the first paragraph says, MASC recommends all districts to urge their superintendent and staff to create an appropriate communication to parents and guardians that explains the importance of secure firearm storage to protect. So the second paragraph, Jim, I agree. You know, if it was a collaboration, but, okay, Kyle.
I mean, couldn't an appropriate communication be that it's included in the handbook?
Correct.
I mean, we already have a lot of rules that are redundant in the laws of the land in the school handbook. I don't see why this added to that would be a problem.
I happen to agree with you personally, and I think, I know there are a lot of gun owners in Alfred, because Alfred has a lot of large land holdings. And,
Have you moved to vote?
yeah, but anyway, okay, so let's go ahead. No more questions on this, comments on this? Okay. All in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to vote. So we have 5. Oh, opposed. 5. So, I mean, what, we have no recommendation.
Right.
Okay.
Did you vote for it?
Okay. Carl,
Okay,
thank you
thank
so
you.
much. You've
Thank
got
you.
it all recorded there.
Got it all recorded, yes.
We are, okay, we've done that. We're not gonna, the year-long agenda, does any subcommittee right now have to report?
No.
No for me.
Okay, Jim, do you want to quickly, just in one sentence?
Yeah, I want to report what?
Talk about my whole goals for the year. In 1 minute?
The committee reviewed the goals with our superintendent and laid out a timeline for the next 3 months.
Where is that?
That's Superintendent Evaluation Subcommittee.
That's,
Oh.
yeah.
Thank you. That's what I would have said.
That's what you would have said, okay. Any other committee have to report?
Nope.
I'm just, Building and Grounds is going to have a meeting on the 13th.
13th?
You finally got your date. It was back
Hopefully.
forth over, okay, thank you. And we will be going into executive session, except, but I just want to say one other thing. Kim, that was the nicest thing. You're having your catering company, she had our catering company bring lunch for the entire staff and administration yesterday after the vote. I don't know how you pulled it off, but
In a very big car.
that was so
And
truly
very,
generous.
and a lot of help from culinary.
Yes.
And our kitchen.
Yes, yes.
So it was a team effort.
Okay, with that, I am going to entertain a motion for executive session.
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
are we going to do anything in future agenda items?
No,
Are we
not,
gonna have
not,
an
no.
Not right now.
audit
Not
report?
right now.
Well, not when-
Okay.
until it's ready.
Not till it's ready.
Okay.
And we spoke about collaboration and a couple of things. All right. Motion, Jim.
Motion to enter executive session under MGL Chapter 30A, Section 21, for the purposes to discuss the reputation, character, physical condition, or mental health, rather than professional competence of an individual, or to discuss the discipline or dismissal of, or complaints or charges brought against a school committee member, with the understanding that the committee will not return to open session.
I'll take a second to that.
Second.
And that's a second from Art. All right, vote. Jim?
Yes.
Okay, Kim?
Yes.
Art? Kyle?
Yes.
David? Sarah? Nancy?
Yes.
For obvious reasons, I'm going to abstain from.
Okay, and I'm a yes.
Or when I say for obvious reasons, for
No,
reasons
but-
that should become obvious.
Right.
When we enter into executive
Okay.
session.
We will take 2 minutes because they have to take away.